I am
How
so
are you?
damn excited to talk to you because check this out. I've done over 150 interviews. I've interviewed bands from all sorts of labels, local bands. The thing is, when I interview a band that I know, I don't have to write a script. I don't have to write anything down. I know exactly what I want to ask you, man.
Perfect, perfect. That works for me. That
Yeah.
works for me.
So,
Absolutely.
a little history. Just the first time I ever heard of you specifically was I got a recommendation on YouTube for Born Again when you first released it, and
Okay.
yeah, and for me, man, I've always been huge into like the Iron Maidens, the Rob Halfords, the big vocal projection with power and anger and passion, and
Yes,
I
sir.
heard that song, man, and I was just like, this is who I want to sing like, man, because I'm a singer too. I sing in a metal band, and I'm just like, so I just sit there just trying to hit like your high notes the whole time. I'm not there yet, but I
Well,
try.
you definitely have it because you also have a pretty high speaking voice. So I think you have it. I think you can easily do it. And for the past year, I have been speaking like this is my low. This is if I speak low. Usually I talk higher than that, but I don't know if it's growing up or just my vocal cords are just getting loose. I still got the highs, but somehow I started talking lower. I think it's because I speak English so much, because actually Greek makes me talk
Oh,
higher. Uh, so now I've been living in Finland for 1 year and a half almost, and speaking English all the time has actually dropped my voice, which is funny. But yeah, so I
that's
think you easily have it. You can easily do the high note stuff. Like
well. Hey,
it's
hey, thank
just
you, man. Hey, you know what? Maybe later at the end of the interview, I'll hit a note for you. You tell you tell me if I'm off pitch or not.
just go for it. Just go for it. Absolutely. Sure.
So,
Sure. You can.
here, do you want me to do it right now?
Well, you can do it now. I mean, I'm just using my earphones, so you can go ahead. Nobody will get scared. Easy, easy, very easy.
I can't do it like you though, man. My voice always cuts like in the middle. I'm just like, and I've been showing everybody I work your live videos, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how Giannis does it with like, yeah, it's called like it's like you're it's almost like when you do it so much, you can control your breath so well, man. So Giannis, first question I want to ask you, man, what was the first day little Giannis wanted to be a rock star? When was the day you knew you wanted to do music? Were you inspired by your parents or were you inspired by your friends? What lit that spark in your heart to have this metal passion?
My biggest musical inspiration, the person that made me want to touch an instrument, musical instrument, since day one almost, it was my father. He has always brought bread to the home just by music. Like he has been doing music all his life, working in bars and talking about endless hours. Like I don't think I've ever heard or seen somebody work more than this guy. He's still working till this day. And I remember like, and I see pictures when I was 2 3 years old. I was just a toddler, and I was trying to mess with his guitar. He had a very nice Ovation guitar, classical, and I was trying to play with it. Like I was always, you know, the little kid, like trying to open his guitar case, crack it open so I can get my hands on the guitar. And always he had been the inspiration for me. What made me, I had a weird relationship with metal because my sister brought it into the household. And at the beginning, of course, I was like, what is this? And not in the most positive way. I was a bit skeptical and a bit scared of it. But then I started really digging into it, and I had, let's say, the support of a couple of friends. Like, so I was not exactly the odd one out. So I could listen to it without being totally mocked and totally being called crazy in my surroundings, in my circle in the high school. And I had a friend, at the end of the day, that at that point I was playing the piano and the guitar. That's how it started. And then I got a friend who just convinced me that I can sing. I knew that I could hit the notes, but I didn't think I was a singer or had the potential to be one. And he was really pushing me and encouraging me to sing. And he's like, yeah, like you can work this and you can top everyone. Like he was saying stuff like that. And I was just 15. I was like, what is this guy talking about? You know, and I'm still like, what was that guy talking about? You know, but it was gradual after that point. I just decided that, okay, like, yeah, whatever it is, I don't want to do some kind of other job. This is how I want to make my living. So things started taking off from that point.
I love that, man. Hey, tell me some of the metal your sister was introducing you to when you were younger that you were kind of like, oh, what's this?
The first thing that I remember was the Finnish, actually was a Finnish band, Him, I guess you know them. And she was listening to them all day, all night. And she had posters of them. Like I'm talking a huge poster of Ville Valo. And, you know, like, you know, his top was naked, you know, so, and
yeah.
yeah, like a huge heartagram in the room. And I was like, wow, my sister is going crazy, you know. And then the thing that gave me a bad impression of it, that shortly after that, she started listening to Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth. Those were the two bands that I remember vividly back then. I was like, no, I don't like this. This is too evil, too savage, you know. But then I got introduced to Guns N' Roses. I got introduced to Nightwish. Then I found out about Iced Earth and Iron Maiden, and then things started looking up. You know, I was like, okay, now we're deep into this. You know, and
I like it. Was there a singer you were into that maybe you felt like was doing stuff that you couldn't do, but you kind of like use like their regimens as an exercise to eventually learn kind of like their exercises, or was your vocals just something you worked on your own?
I found out earlier than most that there is some certain voice types, and you can do some stuff better than other voice types, and then there is stuff that you can just never do as good as other voice types. It just is impossible. So when I was young, I thought that it's kind of easy to sing Iron Maiden stuff because I just had such a high voice that I could easily hit the notes. And growing up, I found out that, yeah, you can hit the notes maybe easily, but the way he does it is basically impossible. He's a freak of nature, and he still continues to be. Bruce Dickinson is, I can like take it from somebody who has a little bit of knowledge. He's a freak. And guys like that, like the bands that I mentioned earlier, like Matt Barlow, the stuff that he does, like he is impossible in the way that he goes all the way to his higher register, and somehow you can still hear his vocal color very clearly. Because most guys, and probably including me, like when you go to the very top of your register, it's just like, it's just meant to kind of lose the identity, and guys start sounding more and more similar the higher they go, you know, because you lose the foundation of your actual color. You know, you lose the identity. It's just impossible when you go all the way up. But Matt Barlow, you can still hear the manliness, and you can still hear his essence even in the very high notes. And that was always shocking and it's still shocking to me nowadays. The stuff that he did in the late 90s with Iced Earth is just beyond me.
I love it, man. I love it. So you know what? One of the things I want to find out too, man. You know, like you said, you know, this is something you wanted to do for the rest of your life. Did you have like do you remember your first big show with a bigger band and with like your first big crowd where you kind of like maybe looked over at your bandmates and you're like, all right, guys, like don't screw this up. Like we got to knock this out of the park. Like what was your first big show like?
I could define many as a first because the context was different. I mean, the first big crowd that I played for example, was it was a school festival in Greece. I had a high school band, and only high schoolers were allowed to play in that. So if you were above 18, so to speak, yeah, it was not for you. So it was my last year of high school, and I was with my high school band back then. And yeah, that festival had about 5, 10-ish thousand people, which was like everybody else was shaking, you know. And well, I had the adrenaline kind of thing, but I always had it in a good way. I never had a crowd fright or anything. It was a thing that I was welcoming, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm here for. So, I'm not backing out, and I'm not shitting my pants. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And there were about, I don't know, 20 or 30 bands in the same day. So everybody was getting to play 20 minutes. Then you had a 10-minute switch over, and then the next band was playing. But that was the first big crowd that I played for a little bit before I hit 18. Yeah, and then, well, of course, I remember that until this day, especially because already at the second song, I was so excited. I was at the drum riser, and I made a jump because, well, I thought I am Bruce, but well, I'm not. And and what that ended up with was me spraining my ankle on the stage, and I was just in such deep pain that I couldn't even breathe or speak. And I still had 3 songs to do. So it was a total of 4 songs on that night. And the 3 of them were in absolute suffering and pain. And yeah. And, my voice was just started cracking up because I didn't even have the experience to back it up, to save it somehow. So I was totally like out of my game at that moment. It was horrible. It was terrible.
Hey, you got balls of steel, man, for keep going, though, man. That's the heart of a lion, man.
Well, you live and learn. You pick up from your experiences and turn it into wisdom if you can.
So,
that's all you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I listen to you guys so much. And anytime I listen to you guys, I always wonder how you guys start a song, because like a lot of songs are so like, I don't know. I could be wrong. This is just like from a fan's perspective, but I find it like very like vocally driven, or driven by like maybe like the keyboard and the synthesizers, and then maybe you add everything later. How do you go about creating a song? Because every time I listen to your song, I'm like, you always come in, dun, 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 I'm just like, but every song has like kind of like that, almost like that dance, like 90s dance vibe with metal. I don't know. Explain to me, how do you write a song for Beast and Black?
Well, the thing is that there is the mastermind behind all the thing. So Anton, our lead guitar player, and he's the founder of the band.
I love him.
He composes all the songs from scratch till the end, and he orchestrates, he arranges, what instrument will be. He produces the whole thing, like he creates it from scratch until the final product. And he has such a high musical intelligence that, he doesn't call himself a singer. Maybe somebody wouldn't. He just has a lot of tools in his arsenal, in his musical arsenal, so to speak, that he can even show you like, okay, like I want this part like that. And it's really a fortunate situation, me and him being in the same band, because we see things eye to eye almost too much. Like 99.9% of the time when it comes to me singing the parts, for example, we have the same idea, we have the same vision, and we end up craving for the same result, which is like, it doesn't happen often. And I had been quite fortunate with my previous bandmates as well, but to this degree it's insane, because, well, I'm supposed to be the singer and he's not, and yet he sometimes even schools me in matters of like, hey, it should be this way and not that way. And I'm like, how does this guy know how it's supposed to be done? it's beyond me, but because he has all that knowledge and he's really a visionary, he hears the result before it's even out there, before it's even recorded. So he writes the lyrics and the music, and he takes care of all that stuff. So the great thing is that he can take feedback nicely, and really I'm very happy about the result that we get. Now we're slowly heading towards a third album, uh, and it's been a good process, like working with that guy every time. And I'm only
Absolutely. You know what? I'm really stoked about the third album. So tell me this. Do you guys usually, like, let's say for like the third album, are you trying to like branch out and maybe try different things, or are you just trying to evolve like the Beast in Black sound that you have, or do you ever just like go out of your characteristics and make like, hey guys, you want to try this or you want to try this?
I would say it's a mixture of both,
Okay.
because the sound needs to be there, the signature sound, the trademark, so to speak. And I think he has somehow achieved to have a trademark sound, and I love that. And I think that is an integral part of every band. Uh, but of course, it needs to be something fresh for both the band members, but also for the audience. And I would say the answer is a mixture of both. The short answer is that.
No, I love it, man. I love it. So you know what? You played shows, you've played tours, man. Do you have a funny tour story or a funny fail? Maybe like you already told me about you twisting your ankle, but have you guys ever played a show where maybe something didn't go as planned and you kind of just had to look at like, oh crap, guys? Like, have you ever had a fail like that? Maybe by like sound guys? Tell me an experience.
More than 10 times. I cannot count.
One that sticks out.
I don't know. I can tell you from already the third Beast in Black show. Our second guitar player, Kasperi, Anton is the one that I mentioned. So Kasperi is the other guitar player, and his guitar string broke in the third song. So he switched the guitar quickly, and then the spare guitar string also broke. So when the spare guitar's string breaks, there needs to be time at that point, because there's no other guitar to pick up quickly. So you need to actually change a string. So he was back in the stage trying to do that. And at that point, because the song had finished without him and he was still off the stage trying to put a new string, it was one of my first shows, and until then I had mostly small experience with small stages and nothing of that league, so to speak. And I was trying to crack jokes at the audience. I had no idea what to do at that moment. It was really, for me, I felt totally vulnerable and naked at that moment. Somehow we survived. We're still here. There's many of these. Like in one of the most recent tours, in one gig in Germany, the audio console literally broke down. So that meant any sound coming from the PA just vanished. Like the PA sound was down for about 1 minute. And the fortunate moment was that just at the moment that the chorus strikes in again for the last time, the sound came back just at that moment. So it was in the song Ghost in the Rain. So what happened is that we played the first part of the chorus just by our own, and the only thing you could hear was basically the drums. And I was trying to sing at that moment on the top of my lungs with the audience so that they at least could hear me, because of course nothing else can be heard without the PA. And fortunately, the people were singing along in that effort. And then in the second chorus, the sound comes back in. So it almost felt like it was planned, It didn't feel that wrong. It felt like we pushed the audience to sing. It was but everybody, felt a little shit coming out of their asses. Like we were totally like, fuck, we're fucked, you know.
That
But
that is so badass, man.
there is a lot of shit like that, It's
Who's
and it's part of it.
who's the band you met on tour that you love touring with that are just super fun to play around with? Like maybe a band like you never met in person and you got put on tour and you're just like, oh, these guys are awesome.
One of the most heartwarming guys were the Rhapsody guys. We were playing with Rhapsody for a month and something. And well, we didn't have the best experiences before that when it came to somebody else headlining and us supporting them. So we had this tour with Rhapsody and we had no idea what's about to come forth. And I think we sort of got their favor early on because we were the middle band. There was another support before us, and we were always punctual. And sometimes the first support band was not keeping the schedules. Like they were finishing the show and they were late in picking up their stuff off the stage so that we could make it in time. And even with that shortcoming, we still pulled through, managing the showtime punctually and finishing and getting off our shit off the stage also punctually. But after a couple of gigs, we already saw, a band that is not trying to put us down, but they're trying to lift us up, because I really got the vibe from them that, guys, we've been around 20 years. And at the end of the tour, they actually said it in words, something like that, guys, we've been around 20 years and something now. And whatever we do from this point on is just a plus for us. But it's important that, we can help somebody new elevate. Like I was talking with our bass player at that point and he said something along those lines. And I was really like, damn, man, like I wish more big bands were like that, because it doesn't happen often. So many times ego comes in the middle of music and people, are like, okay, I got the cards, I have the higher hand and I got the power to do whatever I want. So if I want you to play just 10 minutes on stage, you will do that. And I don't give a crap. Yeah. Because I'm the big band. And of course, that's understandable. And nobody can judge that because, you earned that spot. Is it cool to do it? Maybe not. But, I cannot tell you anything either. So it was really surprising in a positive way and refreshing. And they really were just no complaints about any of their guys or their crew either. Everyone was just, every day they were helping more and more. Like at one point, their own crew was coming up to help us so that the work can be done smoother and easier. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen almost at all because, it's their crew. They are paying them. We are not. Yeah, crazy. Super cool guys. I would look forward to playing with them again.
Really. Be honest, did you expect this to be everything you thought it would be? As far as like being signed, playing these shows, having people like me ask you for interviews, and like this big schedule. Is this everything you thought it would be?
Yes and no. Maybe a few decades ago, it would be exactly as I was thinking it to be. I was kind of accurate when it comes to the exhaustion, when it comes to the, all the tight schedules or the hardships or the shortcomings or the unfortunate situations that may occur. And of course, I was also accurate about the fun that it can be playing for a crowd. The thing that I didn't predict that would happen would be how much it can change you as a person it can grow you, or it can make you just different as a person. And also I didn't see how much it can even turn into a routine. For example, when you're touring, that is a trap that can easily turn into a routine. And I've seen many guys um just going up on stage, and you can feel the energy off of them, that for them it's just another day in the office, you know. And you can see it when you've been there, when you've gotten that hint that I don't want to do this tonight, you know, but I have to. And I've been close to being in that spot, but it's just impossible. I think for me, it's just impossible because I always try to squeeze every ounce of every situation. And I really think that I'm trying to be grateful for what is given. Like, you're here, man, you're on the stage, and people will kill for this spot, first of all. And also, like, it's always good to remove yourself out of a situation and just try to see the bigger picture, that you're there for 500 or 1000 people or 10,000 people, doesn't matter, offering music. You know, you're creating music and you're offering music. That thing alone, it should remove any kind of routine thoughts or any kind of ego thoughts out of the thing. It's just, you know, we're just here once, and we're here to make the most out of it. So from that point, after my brain clicked towards that thought, I I I can't look back anymore. It's always a joy. And even with a 2 people audience, I will pick the guy that is the most into it, and I will exchange energy with him until the end of the show.
I love it.
You need to find your tricks and your triggers to keep your sanity, keep yourself in check, you know. And I haven't toured now for a long time because of the COVID situation, of course, but I think that still all this time helps us all grow and look into ourselves a bit more, and probably be prepared even better for the good times, if ever.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. I learned a whole lot of lessons during this COVID. We have so much time to think, and no, I totally agree. And I like that you have that perspective, that you've seen what touring so much can do to a person's mindset, and you lose that fire and passion, because it's like you said, if there's that one person in the crowd that is really like giving his energy towards you, like you want to make that guy's night, you're like, that's important, and I'm in a like a smaller local band, and like I'll have, and like I'll hear somebody be like, oh, it's only like 10 people, but I was like, dude, 1 out of those 10 people are gonna go home and be like, that guy made my night.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe 5 years from now, that guy will be able to say, hey, I was in one of Omar's shows when he was playing 10 people shows. And, I love that guy. Anything can happen, really. I don't know if you watched The Last Dance. For me, that documentary was
Michael Jordan?
important. That was more important to me than I thought it would be, because I could relate with that guy in so many levels. And like, one of the things that stuck with me was when he had his flu game, which was really a food poisoning game.
Yep.
He said, so many people here in this crowd have probably come to see me play. And these people have probably come to see me play at my best. So I don't want a single person in this building to see something less than that. And he really took it upon himself and had that kind of responsibility that, this guy paid a ticket and he came here to see Michael Jordan. I can't allow them to think that I didn't play well.
I love that. I love that.
And I have the same mentality. I've done so many gigs like completely destroyed. I couldn't even speak. And somehow you pull some adrenaline and some, I don't know, you just warm up and just do 200% of what you're capable just to make it happen, because you want that person to leave satisfied, and that's what you're there for. And yeah,
I love it.
it's tough, and it's not for everyone. And I knew that when I was getting into this, that this is not for everyone. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. Are you one of those people that strive when you like and look for like inspirational videos or people that have already done it? Because you know what I usually do is like in my studio is I'll have people I really look up to like on the walls and see everything they've had to come up. So I even have like I have a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger on my wall, you know, and I'm like, dude, this guy came in as an immigrant, learned how to speak English. He worked
yep,
out 8 hours a day, then he promoted 8 hours a day. I mean, the guy became governor, and you know, and I was like, you know what? If Arnold can do it, and then I could do it. He has that work ethic, you know. And I
absolutely,
in my favorite movie ever are the Rocky movies, you know, because he's I love the underdog, man. I love those underdog movies.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think we have already like a few common inspirations, and I think those people should be an inspiration to everyone, really. How far they've come, you know, from where they began and where they ended up. And still till this day, you can watch an interview from Sly, you can watch an interview from Arnold, and you can still be like, you know what? Like, yeah, he's a fucking legend, he's a superstar, he's an all-star, but still he has a relatable essence. I can still relate to him as a human. I don't feel distant from him, that I'm here and he's here. Like he doesn't have a sort of arrogance or distance in the way that he talks, and that's not often with Hollywood stars, so to speak. And that's really admirable. I am, every time I hear these guys talk, especially nowadays, you can see even that now they've grown up or maybe even grown old, and that they've calmed down, and they are even more down to earth than they already were. And it's really adorable to see how people just keep growing and evolving, you know. And
Absolutely.
because you have the right mindset and you're not diminishing, because I think that if you're unwilling to change, and if you're like, you know what, I hit 50, I hit 60, I think I don't need to change anything about myself, that's the exact point of the decline. Because whether you want it or not, people are social beings, and people are interactive beings. So there's things happening around you and people involved revolving around you. So if you're the one that's not changing, but everything else around you evolves and grows, well, the end result in the big picture is that you're becoming smaller. So that's how decline starts, and that's how, yeah, just diminishing begins. So I think that you need to have that sort of mindset, that, you know, until the day I die, I have something to learn, I have something to take and something to give. You know, it doesn't ever stop. That I hope I can live by those words when I'm 60 or 70. You know, it's not easy. It's
I
an
love it, man.
everyday thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And honestly, you know, that's why I like doing these interviews too, man, because you know, it's a chance to hear other people's upbringings, you know, what they've had to go through and what they've had to work through. And honestly, that's my favorite thing about these interviews. You know, I don't do it for the likes or the comments or look at me, you know, like for me, like when you got back to me, I was like, I'm gonna ask him about his vocals first. Like I need to know how to do this. You know what I mean? Like I'm all about it, man. And you know what? Before we end the interview, of course, my favorite song of all time. I've heard it a million times. I sing it all the time. I've gotten all my coworkers to sing it and hum it. I even had a lady start whistling it. But "Ghost in the Rain" is my favorite song on the planet.
Oh my
I
God.
I love "Ghost in the Rain." I love Anton's guitar. How he like almost like you guys are playing doing the same thing with the vocals. and the notes, how you complimented me, and it like hits really hard, and even like the I want to know the last chorus, the last verse, you know, where it goes like, by the river I walk and wander on. I'm a warrior dreaming of lost love. Will you open the door to me once more? Always yours, ghost in the rain. Like, I can't tell you, man. I've been listening to music for 20 years, but that song's like in my top 10 in my heart forever, man.
That's
So
that that's a big list to hit, you know, like top 10 for a fresh song is crazy. Really.
Well, you guys were my top 2 band on my Spotify list this year.
Okay, so you must be in our, you know, 0.01 top fans, you know, like how they show it like that or something like that.
Yeah, but I love that song, man. I love it when you guys play it. Tell me a little bit about the experience, maybe in a short answer, writing that song, because it is very different than a lot of your other songs. I think the other soft song I really like is like Ocean Deep, you know, Ocean Deep. But this one, man, hits my heart like no other, man. I might even play it at my wedding. So tell me a short answer what you think about it.
It, from the whole, well, Beast in Black catalog, if you can call it that, with 2 albums, it must belong in my top 5 easily. And you know, when it comes to ballads, for example, recording the song, it took the most time from that album, from all the other songs, because, for example, when you have to sing something like full speed heavy metal, it's basically one way. You just need to hit the notes as hard as you can and with as much power and steam. And it's just, you know, one gain, you know, it's just one shift, you know, in the car. But when it came to that, there's so much emotion that you need to contain and control into the notes and into the lyrics, to cut the right corners and, you know, just make the diamond shimmer in the right places. That took a long time and a lot of fine tuning. It wasn't easy to get. Of course, now that it's already out there and, you know, it has kind of boiled down to the ear and the brain, yeah, it's easier for me to reproduce it sort of how it's there. But that song, it was the toughest one when it comes to the amount of work to record. And of course, also because you recognize that fact alone, that, you know, the emotion is so important towards that song. It took even more dedication to it and determination, like, no, this is not good enough. I need to make this work. I need to make this better. And I'm really proud of that song, even listening back to it now. Of course, when I did that, when I recorded it, it was winter of 2016. That's basically almost 5 years from now. But still, I'm like, wow, I'm proud of this. This is really good. And that's not easy to say, like anything from that era. I'm like, wow, I was just a kid. And still I am, but of course, learning, you just think that, yeah, I could do this differently or anything, but there's just some things that you're like, no, this is unique, like this can't be reproduced, like,
yeah.
And that's why I'm against re-recording stuff, because that is representative, that is a truth of yourself, and you cannot change that. Like, yeah, if I sing it now, maybe technically it would be better or whatever. You can't capture what you did at that moment. You will capture something else, and it will mean something completely different than what it meant back then. So yeah, that's why I always look forward to new songs, because every time something new represents something new, and you can't go back and forth. You can't go back in time, so to speak. I like to have a representation of them. imprinted. It stays. That's what the album is. It stays forever. It's eternal. So
I love it, man. I'm so happy. I got to hear that explanation because as a fan, man, that hits hard. And yeah, Yannis, I want to thank you so much for taking time today.
My pleasure.
This is a pleasure and honor because I get to talk to somebody I look up to, listen to, and for me, it's like as much as like doing radio is like doing the promotion and all that. Like, I feel like I've already won, man. I got to hear you. You're very determined, inspired. Before I let you go, I need 2 favors out of you. One of them's for my friend.
If it's up to me, of course.
My friend Aaron really loves you. He's a coworker of mine. Is there any way you could just say hi to him very quick?
Of course. Well, hello, Aaron, and I hope you're doing well in these crazy times, man. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much, man. Maybe after your 3rd album, we can do this again.
With pleasure. Hey, I think we're both winners out of this anyway, so you're not the only one. I'm really happy to actually talk something real, and dig a little bit deeper than just watch your tour dates and watch your band members' names.
Honestly, man, doing interviews like that's no fun for me. Because the last thing I want to be is a date on the schedule or a number in a book.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
I'd rather ask you questions that I would as a fan, as a musician, and as a friend.
100%. I'm with you. Absolutely. I agree.
You have a great rest of your day, okay?
You too, Omar. Pleasure. Have a great night, man. Cheers. See you.